got a I've got a triple net syndicator who is hosting us. He's real good. I've got some money with him myself. And so he'll kind of go over high level syndication and how that works. And then obviously we've got Rafa and TJ Johnny coming to talk about short term rentals. So just again, one of the new trends that's kind of hitting the face is just being able to acquire small multifamily and potentially convert them over to short term rentals. Um, Hopefully to alleviate some of the issues that you might face with the arbitrage model. And if you ain't got all your funds, we've got a guy there that can talk syndication. So just again, a meetup, trying to host these every other month, and we'll just be talking about various in the Houston area. So if you are available or around Houston on Saturday, you can get my 10K card to attend this event for free. Pretty cool too. That's what we got going on. So big shout out to Rafa for coming in to talk with us as well.
And I got a hall pass.
And Malachi has a hall pass, so he gets to get out.
What kind of hall pass?
That room. What is that room? Bring y'all back in. I let somebody just take over. Y'all go a different road. Guys, thank you.
He's thinking I got a hall pass.
Jonathan, this PM. Who are we up to with the introductions? You said, TJ? I'm sorry.
Pick up with Jonathan, Robert, and then back to the bottom there, starting with I see Stephanie Onaje already knocked it out, and Rodney, Dr. Rachel, Sam, Cherie, and Chinke.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Mr. Jonathan, since you cracked your mic, you want to go and introduce yourself, family, to everybody?
Absolutely. I don't have a hall pass, but hey guys, it's wonderful to be here with everyone, guys. And it's wonderful. I've been away from the app, well, in and out, because we're doing the training this week. And but Najee, I would certainly made it down to Houston, man. We got to support one another, and I would have certainly been down there. Definitely gonna see what I can do about it. See if I can.
I want to get you down in January to talk lending. So again, it's real specialized. So I'd love for you to come in and we'll probably have
yeah, I'll definitely be there, bro. I would definitely be there. I'll just say the word. Let me know when. I'll definitely be there. Well, I'm Jonathan Bing. I'm the executive vice president of Nationback Mortgage, and guys, we're a nationwide lender. 40 or Ohio. Actually, we're New York next year, guys. Finally. But yeah. So, but I'm here, guys. I love learning about short-term rental because I'm probably gonna do something just to have places to stay when I travel all over the country. I'm probably gonna do it. So, looking forward to being a student. RB, thank you for having me here. And I'm not.
You don't have to use me. This is all family here. That's why I love this app. Jonathan does an amazing. Tell him about it, Jonathan, in the morning.
It's Real Estate Chapter. But right now we've been doing the training course. Man, had a tremendous turnout on that training. We have 95 people in that training, and it's just huge. So we're just today we had extended another day. So it's 5-day training that we're doing for commercial real estate brokering. So, but guys, I love it. I'm loving every moment of it. But I'm just happy to be here right now. And I'm going to learn about short-term rentals. Then I'm going to head off and get into this training. Thank you.
Awesome. So tap in with him to learn the play. That is the big thing and changing lives. So if you're not already the kid and Nation Mac lending, please make sure that you do that immediately. You won't be sorry. So thank you for joining us. People that support each and every one of us as a family in this app, so we should be here. Robert, hey, how are you, sir?
RB, always a pleasure. Always love to just jump in.
Hey, Frank. What's going on, brother?
Things going on to listen to your weekly talks. It's an exciting time. We moved into our first office, and not only that, but right now we're still waiting. Cody, which you've talked to on, he's having his baby. So we're excited over here, and we're having a wonderful day. We are a hosting and hospitality arbitrage co-host and host. Currently right now about 132 properties. We're onboarding 6 in the next 8 days. So we predominantly deal in the San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, and then as well as Fair Bay, Arkansas, and we've got a boutique hotel in Playa del Carmen. And really just listening in today. Always love adding any value that we can.
Thanks so much, and it's always a pleasure to have you here. And congratulations to your partner. That's awesome. Babies are a blessing. So congratulations to them. Introduce yourself.
Yep, I did. I'm good. Thank you.
Awesome. Richard, hey sir, how are you?
I was in the back channel here. I got to introduce myself. Good morning, though. Once again, thank you for being here, though.
Awesome.
Being here.
No problem. Sean 10K, you with us, sir?
Sean is in the background keeping busy. What up, Sam?
Hey, introduce yourself.
First off, always a pleasure being here, guys. I'm just a little shy kid here that's always running around the clock trying to lose some calories, put it on, take it off, that kind of good stuff. But if anyone out there does not have a 10K card, you know exactly what to do. Hit me up in the back channel. That's it. I'll be back to you.
When you get in the back channel, it's hard to get out of it. I'm like struggling to come back to the main room. Thank you for joining us, Sean. Always a pleasure. I have to tap in with you a little bit later. I forgot to reach out the other day, but yeah, get those cards. Definitely the best digital currency that you can get out here to promote your business and brand. Cherie, the birthday lady, how are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, everybody. Thanks, RB. My name is Cherie Holloway, mortgage branch owner with Nation Mac. Been in the mortgage industry for 17 years, helping homeowners, future homeowners, investors get the information that they need to have the confidence to close. And I am actually sitting here sending out the information for the rest of the recipients for the winners of the giveaway. So thank you to all of my people here on the stage that participate in those giveaways. Check your back channels for me because I need your email addresses so that I can send this out to you. And that's about it. The rest of the information is in my bio. And Jonathan Bean, I'm going to be calling you in about 10 minutes. You're in big trouble, mister.
No, I'm not in big trouble because we got
Yes, you are.
I'm about to see your Venmo. What are you talking about?
This is me and John every day, y'all. And it wasn't even about that. But see, that's on your conscience right now. So you can do that too. But I'm about to call you in 10 minutes.
It's always on my conscience because I love you. Yes,
Yeah,
because I love you. That's why. So, guys, you know it's been a hectic week for me. So, it's been very...
I love you too, John. Okay, sorry, RB, we're done.
That's his family talking. You're good. Okay, Sam661. Hey, are you in the building? Would you like to do an intro?
Absolutely. Feel honored, and I love being in your rooms, RB. You're awesome. You're a great person as well as a great realtor and a great moderator. And I am Sam661, or Sam Silver in beautiful Southern California, Valencia / LA / Ventura County areas. I give back to heroes in my community. My babies were 211 and 215 when they were born, and each of them fit in one of my hands like a rag doll. And now they're 16 years old, and I can never ever thank the amazing heroes in the hospital and the first responders for saving my babies. I was licensed back then in 2004. I was able to spend pretty much all day because I had a team of people and mentorship that was going on at the same time. So I was very blessed, and today's Thankful Thursday, so I'm thankful, very thankful for all of you. Thankful for being healthy, thankful for living in this incredible country and being able to do what I want to do. And it's unbelievable to be able to do what we do and to give back and pour back to incredible people in our communities. So thank you, RB, for this room. I am a filming fiend right now, so I got a lot to send you later on for Real Estate for the People.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And thank you for being here. And thank you for mentioning that. So, Real Estate for the People is our Facebook group that we have free of charge, and it was built on the premise of trying to provide information to people that want it, right, within our communities, to get up and get addicts of real estate, lending, credit, and beyond. So, make sure that you join us tonight. Rafa goes live Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Rafa, is it 7? 7
Pacific.
Oh, there you. So then that would be 8 p.m. Okay, so 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So he goes live on Thursdays, but we have somebody going live Monday through Friday on all sorts of topics. Pretty awesome. Even if you missed the live, then you can catch the replay. You can still put your questions underneath there. A lot of the times we also give clickable links. So definitely feel free to join us. All you have to do is click the link in my bio on Instagram, and you can be a part of the group and just be a part of that energy and put some faces to these voices that you hear on Clubhouse. So if you're not a member, please feel free to give us a join request, and we'll definitely let you on in. Be happy to have you. Mr. Richard, you spoke. Okay, we're circling on down to Rachel. Hey lady, how are you? Dr. Rachel going once, going twice. Also,
I'm here.
She's like, I'm here.
Go for it. I am so on the move today. I have an inspection that I'm doing real quick, and then I have a sales call to jump on. And so, hey guys, my name is Rachel. I'm in the luxury short-term rental space based out of Atlanta, Florida, Tennessee, and Georgia. Of course, since I'm breathing heavy and whatnot, but I am just loving this space. One of my favorite rooms on Clubhouse. So I like this ready to scale profit time header here. I cannot wait to hear more and learn more. This is Rachel, and I'm complete.
Thank you, Dr. Rachel. I'm going to let RB, she has to step away because you know RB has like 10 different careers going on, and she's a mom, you know, so we're going to keep this train going for her. And again, we're so glad, always so glad to have you, Dr. Rachel. You're so supportive of so many rooms. So again, thank you for being here. Rodney, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm Rodney out of Atlanta, Georgia. A lot of people know me as the Turo guy. I'm heavy in the car rental space. Got a bunch of cars in Atlanta, a dealership in Houston with some rentals there, and a lot of cars in Vegas. And lately, I've been partnering a lot of those cars with different short-term rental hosts to keep them moving because the market slowed down. So, been having some good success with that. And also in my guy Jay Massey's short-term rental mentorship. So I think I might be signing my first lease in 2 weeks. So thank goodness for that. So first of many. So, but yeah, a 15-year military vet, still currently serving in the Air National Guard, and that's me in a nutshell. Thanks, TJ.
Thanks, Rodney, and thank you for your service. We really appreciate folks like you being here again, being active duty, and although knowing the importance of investing. So a good example for everybody. Hi, Otis. How are you? Can you give us an introduction?
Hey, I can't stay, but I finished the room, so I came over here so that people could follow me into it. But I'm a real estate investor. Well, first of all, let me say this. When I came in, was Anaje still here? Anaje was talking, and he was mentioning an event that he had in Houston, and he didn't mention my name, so it told me I wasn't invited, and then a little tear formed at the side of my eye, right?
You and Jonathan, yep.
Yeah, just a little tear, like it didn't fall, but it formed. And if I'm a text him, but if he comes in after I leave, let him know that I've never had to deal with that type of emotional pain in one day. And I just want you guys can all thank him for that. But That being said, I'm a full-time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. I teach people how to do it. I do workshops. I had a mortgage lending company for 10 years. I did some things on the entrepreneurial side. I was a multifamily operator. I was operating about $600 million in multifamily real estate as of this year. I'm working on 2 development projects, one large scale in Africa, and then we're working on some things in Kansas City. I'm a real estate broker in multiple states. I'm licensed in insurance. I don't sell it, so I can speak intelligently about it. It's a very important wealth tool. I went ahead and got licensed. And there may be some other things. All that information is in my bio, but I will say this is one of the rooms that most of the people I've actually had conversations with or worked with or vet or have a relationship with, really, really comfortable sending people in my circle to this room because it's one of the most professional, and you guys are really doing your thing up here. So that being said, thank you, and I'll stick around for another couple minutes, and then finish working on this guilt trip for Anache. So thank you.
Otis, we'll make sure we pass you some virtual tissues on the back channel there. Just glad to have you. You're always here supporting this room, and you are a powerhouse in so many aspects of real estate. So again, as long as you can hang out, please do. Drew, how are you? Go ahead and give us an introduction, please.
What's going on, TJ? I'm going to keep it brief. I know we're trying to get this show on the road. Everybody, I'm Drew B. I'm the DMV, short-term operator. Click my profile, check out my SIM card to learn more, get a glimpse into my journey. But yeah, ultimately, I'm here to provide value about anywhere I can. So let's reach out and see how I can help you. See you.
Thank you, Drew. Thanks for keeping it short and always being here and supporting this room as well. Peter, I know you're a staple here as well. Very important person to be a part of this conversation, specifically to RB and all the rest of us mods. How are you? Can you go ahead and give us an introduction?
Hey, TJ. Yeah, hi, everybody. Can we just have an agreement, though, that in the future I get to go before Otis, because following Otis is really, really difficult. Like, he just says stuff and then, like, gets mic drop, and then I'm, I can't follow that, so I might as well just be quiet.
I feel like we all feel that way.
Yeah, like what you did to me in New York, man, that was like, oh, I gotta follow that?
You did a damn good job there. You did a damn good job. Stop.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for having me in the room. I just was in between appointments and jumped in and was really psyched to see you guys had the room going. My name is Peter Siegel, and I'm a multifamily owner, operator, investor, and developer based in the New York, New Jersey area. And I've got 2,000 units under management and have been swinging away at this for over 30 years and have done just about everything there is to do in terms of multifamily and deal making and real estate and property management and financing and acquisitions and all that stuff. And I love hanging out with you guys in these rooms and absorbing everything. So thank you, and I'm done. Thanks.
Thanks, Peter, and just glad to have somebody with longevity in the room as well to offer wherever you can. We appreciate you. Just stick around as long as you can. Storm, I know you have a room right after this. How are you? Glad to see you.
Hey, TJ. Yeah, we actually have a room following this one under the Airbnb, The Big Break. It's going to be all about, so I'm from the travel world. That's how I stumbled into Airbnb. I'm pretty much went from homeless to multiple homeowner. And along my travel journey, I've been learning how to travel hack. So we're going to be talking about how to maximize the expenses that goes into short-term rentals, cleaning supplies, linens, even the utilities and the bills, and routing them through the correct credit cards to get the most rewards back, the most points and miles, and be able to travel for free. So I'm pretty psyched to share how I'll be going to Universal Studios for free next month and then flying to Europe for a month in January, all from just routing the business expenses I had to spend the money on anyway and getting the most points and miles. So hopefully if you click on my name, you guys can see it's already set up, and click a bell on that room and follow me in there after this one, but definitely don't cut out on this one. I'm excited to hear how to scale because we're about to close on a 79-door motel hotel on the Gulf Coast, and hopefully have it up and running by spring. And going from 4 to 80 something, like, I'm definitely in the right room with the right people to learn how to do that without with the least amount of bumps along the way and learning curves. So, thanks, TJ.
You need to start hiring yourself a virtual army instantly.
Yeah, I have a couple in the bag, but I feel like I'm gonna need more for sure.
Listen, I got 7 now, and I'm like, what can I do with about 40 of these guys?
I will definitely listen on how to find those and make sure that they're qualified for it.
Well, Storm, we just want to be along the ride with you. So we love the practical experience that you share, and I know you'll be sharing more as you go through your journey of scaling. So you're in the right place, and we're in the right place because we get to hear your side of things as well. Mr. Noble Crawford, glad to have you, one of the people in this space that's not only doing it, but also mentoring out there. Can you give us a quick introduction?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, TJ. I appreciate it. My name is Noble. I'm co-founder of a hospitality brand along with my wife based out of Texas. So we specialize in, the short-term accommodation space across a number of different verticals, and have been fortunate enough to be in a position now where we help educate and coach others who really kind of just desire to change their financial future, whether it's starting or scaling. And so folks can certainly reach out to me if they're interested in that. But always happy to be here and share the stage with some of the titans in the space. And I look forward to listening to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Noble. We appreciate you taking the time out to be here as well. Sinead, you were last week just dropping gems from the back channel. So I'm so glad to see you on stage, shining bright and standing tall. Can you give us an introduction?
What is going on, TJ? How are you? How's everyone?
Good. You give us an introduction. We're happy to have you here today.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, last week I actually was in Nigeria, so my internet was a little bit shoddy, so that's why I was sending messages instead. But this is Chinedu Akuna, founder of a hospitality company called Heirs Living in Alexandria, Louisiana. If you thought your city was small, check out Alexandria, Louisiana, and we're making it work here. We also have 17 units out here and 4 units in Oklahoma City, where we're expanding to and looking to any landlord that has 20 to 25 units in the Houston area, because we're coming there next. Talking about scaling, we are in the process of hiring 6 virtual assistants at the minimum. So if there's anyone that we could be of service to, I could be of service to. First, congrats to Rodney for your leases, and Storm for your expansion. And I see you, Otis, in my backyard, doing great things in Africa. If we could be of service, if I could be of service to anyone on stage or in the audience, I'll be glad to help in any way. Chinedu Akune, extract dealer, turn real estate investor. That's my time. Thanks.
Hey,
Chinedu, real quick, what if we're real estate investors that want to turn drug dealers? Can you help us with that? Cold out these streets, man.
Then you have to start buying land. Just saying.
It depends on what kind of bricks you're trying to flip, Otis.
No, I appreciate you, brother.
That PPE is pretty heavy right now, though.
Yeah, this is not that room. Let's go back to RV. This is not the hall pass drug dealer room. So we're moving on.
But let's talk about it. Most of us are selling drugs. We're selling happiness in a home, in an experience.
That we are.
We have one more mod introduction we're going to do before we jump right into the subject. And Stephanie, so glad to see you back on stage. And I think you were on the phone and we missed your introduction. Can you go ahead and sum up the introductions for us? Glad to have you. Stephanie, going once, going twice. We'll come back to you, Stephanie. We're going to go ahead and just kick this room off. Thank you to everybody for joining us today in today's Lunch and Learn short-term rental edition, founded by RB the Realtor and the Key Real Estate Group. My name is Tamara Jones, or you can call me TJ for short. I will be assisting RB and the others on stage mod today's room. If you like to follow the topic of short-term rentals or any other facet in the real estate arena, please click on that green house at the top of the screen to follow the Key Real Estate Club. That will ensure you do not miss upcoming rooms like this. This room happens every Thursday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please remember to click on the faces of the moderators and connect with them outside of this platform. Those are the folks on the stage with the green badges. So let's just go ahead and get started. Now we're discussing when are you ready to scale? How do you know, right? How do you know when it's time to scale? And how much profit is enough profit in terms of determining growth? So I'm going to ask, in the meanwhile, I'm going to ask the mods a question. But in the meanwhile, if you're in the audience or the listening lounge, go ahead and raise your hands. We will pull you up to the stage and get your questions answered. If you're stage shy, I'm hoping that one of the mods wouldn't mind taking questions. Marvin, are you up to taking questions for us?
Marvin, I can in maybe an hour. Not right now, though.
Okay, it's okay. All right, so just send me the questions. If you're in the stage, in the audience, and you don't want to come up to the stage and you just want to ask questions, just send them to my back channel, and I'll go ahead and get those answered for you and present them to the panel. But for right now, I just want to ask the panel members and the mods, name a few ways or triggers to tell an investor that it's time to scale. So again, mods, if you can, just 1 or 2 ways that would be a trigger or some type of formula that's used for an investor to know when it's time to scale. Any mod, you go ahead and jump in there and give us 1 or 2 ways.
So I'll answer one. One is if you are actively involved in every aspect of the real estate investing business and you have no time and you're feeling overwhelmed. So sometimes scaling is taking on more investment. Scaling in your business may mean hiring more people, seeing what systems you can automate. I'm getting that red bar, so if you can't hear me, just go ahead and mute me, please. But I think expanding your business because spread too thin is a great sign that it's time to scale. Would you guys agree?
Oh, I love it. I love it. How well do you know your business? How well are you equipped with what you already have in order to expand? So great advice there. Anybody want to piggyback off of what Otis said or offer their own triggers or what they look for to know that it's time to scale?
So sometimes, if I may jump in, we take a look at, especially if we're dealing with an investor who already has a portfolio. So for example, any of the individuals that are sitting here that have multifamily, I'd immediately sit down and say, listen, my job is to equip you and educate you so you can make informed decisions. And part of that is letting you know where you may be missing out on viable cash flow in some of your investments. Some of those properties are strategically placed in areas either medical, either just vacation rental, whichever, that they may not have identified, and we want to show them what the potentiality for short-term or mid-term is by just investing the furniture. So we go through the whole entire real estate portfolio. We'll pick the key ones, and internally, as we get up and going and have shown at least 3 to 6 months of track record of success, especially if some of those leases are converting over and it happens to coincide right at a busy season, we say, hey, we've shown you, we're getting up and going. Although this is a marathon, we see that now this is the other time where we may be at the pinnacle time where we can enter in right at the most prestigious point of the occupancy annual calendar. And that's something I advise everyone, especially if you do an arbitrage, is make sure you're entering into the market at the right time. Because for right now, for example, for the Houston market, I'm not taking any arbitrage. You'll get the holidays in January and February here, unless I can lock in a good, lease. But if not, I'm looking starting December, January for a February 1st move-in to be ready for March 1st when spring break and everything, and we start climbing back up for the 70% of our money until about September. So we kind of plan it out as a life cycle as we look at the entire portfolio that an investor may present to us.
I gotta say, Robert, I feel like you just hit one of the major triggers out there when it comes to when to know when to scale. One was you mentioned making sure you have a strong existing portfolio on the investments you already have, and then 2, what season? Depending on the season, it plays a big part in when it comes to short-term rental and the scaling. So I have like a beach location. So if you're scaling in a beach location, the fall or early winter, I wouldn't want to scale during that time. I would want to go right before that spring break area and spring break time in that summer period. Again, to not have to carry those units if I do scale through that summer, that winter off-peak season. So I just thought that is such an important gem that she dropped there. Anybody else want to either piggyback off of what Robert said before we take a couple of questions, or add in when you think, or when you think an investor should look at, or what they should look at if they're looking to scale? Anybody else?
Yeah, I got something really quick, TJ. So there's going to be a point, especially in short-term rentals, where once you get off the ground, everything's going to be going pretty smooth, and you're going to get kind of comfortable, lazy, and complacent to where you're at, right? Because everything's going very well. When you get to that point, take that as a trigger to it's time to move forward and do something else, because everybody here who has a short-term rental, and maybe even if you're I'm also in the red bar, guys, so if I fall off, just let me know. But and again, I'm speaking strictly with short-term rentals here, because even now, there's times where you'll come across it where you have 4, 5, 6 units, and they're just operating really smoothly, and you're not getting bothered by questions, and because you have everything perfectly down, even if you have 1 or 2, it doesn't matter, right? You're going to get comfortable. At that point, you need to look at it and go, okay, it's time for me to either grow and scale and add more, or focus on something else to grow as a person, as the business, and to add more units. Because when you get there, trust me, that's when you're going to do your biggest growth. Like, you'll start pushing yourself to do more, to add more units, to build onto your company, and it's going to force you to add the right people in, to put into the right place to help you with it. Because the last thing you want is to be at dinner, right, or on Clubhouse, having a phone call or doing something with someone else, and then you have to stop the conversation, stop what you're doing to respond to messages, or to set codes, or to set locks. And that's going to tell you, okay, it's time for me to add the right people, because I've grown my business, I'm starting to scale it, and it's going to start blowing up, it's going to start getting bigger, and it's time to implement the right people into the right places. So anyway, that was it. Thanks.
Rafa, leave it to you to always put that extra spin on things. I tell you, the way I took that, and I think it's extremely valid, is that scaling doesn't always mean adding on extra 2 units, right? I mean, everybody flash your mic if you think, scaling could be, improving or adding to your staff. It could be adding services, right? Or things like that. So scaling doesn't necessarily mean adding more doors. So I'm just always glad to have Rafa in here bring up those kind of things, especially when we have people that are doing Turo on the stage and things like that. That is scaling when you add vehicles as a part of your short-term rental package. So again, kudos to you, Rafa, for bringing that up. Anybody else want to jump in there before? And I see our question. I didn't see. I thought we had a question, but anybody else want to jump in there?
May do. Just to add to that, Rafa, that was awesome. I listened to a guy called Osho that talked about how an oyster has a shell. However, the oyster will eventually outgrow the shell. And the signal for that is that the oyster becomes uncomfortable in the shell. So the oyster is under a rock, deshells, and waits for bigger, fatter shell to form before it goes back out. So that's that discomfort, building on what Rafa said, discomfort is a signal for growth. If you're stopping what you're doing, if you're breaking your regular day to attend to things, yes, you may need to add more staff. Also, we want to not discount the discomfort. We want to pay attention, lean into it, and seek the avenues for growth in whatever signals we're getting. Second, it'll be best to build a bridge all the way across before we tack on another bridge. So let's go deep before we go wide in the area of growth as well. Hopefully that helps someone.
Absolutely, Sinead. So basically, he's just saying, if you're too comfortable, it's time. It's most likely time. It's time to get uncomfortable. That's time to get uncomfortable and scale a little bit out there. So any other mods want to, jump in there? What about, depending on what way you're using a scale? Did anybody want to talk about that? Doesn't the triggers change depending on the different ways that we attempt to scale? Anybody want to talk about that?
I can chime in for the people who just spoke. I mean, for everybody in the audience, like Rafa, TJ, and Sinead that no longer works, right? Migrate to another software, training your team to get them really efficient and, promoting your short-term rentals, right? Filling the orphan days, working on your pricing strategy. There are a lot of different ways or facets of scaling that we should be looking into before we actually add on units. Because if we don't have our systems and processes, locked down, when we add on more units, things are going to start to break if they're already not broken, and that can cause a lot of havoc and can cause your business to take a hit, whether that's in revenue, guest reviews, what have you, that are so critical to a business.
Absolutely. Just so well said and rolled up what everybody else is saying as far as when it's time to scale, not necessarily looking at adding on additional doors. And what Drew said that I thought was even more important, we need to go into this, is when we start looking at not just the processes, but when you start looking at what cash flow looks like, what cash on cash return looks like, where are we using cap rates to make that determination. So before we get into that, when you face that decision based off of ROI, return on investment, does anybody else want to add to what are some of the ways that they know or that they would recommend that someone look at in terms of when it's time to scale, before we start really digging into what should you look at from an ROI perspective? Anybody else want to jump in there?
Hey, this is Storm. So the reason I know it's okay for me to scale 79 doors in my own backyard is looking at how much of the area is booked, not just in the busy season, but the off season as well. So for me going through the summer, I was pretty much 94% booked, which last year I was only 84% booked. And even though there is definitely more rentals in our area now than there was last year, it just tells me that the market for it is way up, and there's definitely room to grow in the area. Even now, where I think this week there's 11% availability in my area, whereas last year it was pretty much dead season. So it tells me people are moving more, and there's room for more doors in the area. So that's why we know that it's going to be a successful plan. And to speed on what Otis said about if you feel overwhelmed, that was actually me last year with 2 units, or 3 units, I think, but trying to run around and do all the work myself, and that's where I scaled the crews that gave me the time to really see the opportunities and kind of do a little pivoting on what my roles were to be able to now take on this volume that's going to be coming in the door pretty soon. So that was spot on as well.
Absolutely. Just looking at your environment, not necessarily any general advice about that, but assessing your own backyard, your own environment, or where you want to actually expand at. So again, we're talking about what are some of the triggers or what are some of the formulas that our mods or panelists use in order to know when it's time to scale. What are they recommending that you look at? And we've already talked about, Robert talked about having a strong portfolio, and, we talked about getting uncomfortable, and Rafa talked about different ways you could scale, not necessarily being from adding on more doors, but just different ways you could scale as far as adding services and things like that, adding to your staff and things like that. Any other mods? Again, I want the mods to think about when it comes to basing this decision to scale on your, return on investment, your cash flow, your cash on cash return, your cap rate. I want you to think about what are some of the things that you look for when it comes to that. But in the meanwhile, any other mods want to either ask about that or answer that, or do you want to add something else that you've been burning to talk about in this room? Thank you, Otis. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's also another component, right? Some of us, especially those that have small businesses, have families to support, right? So there's a simple math component to deciding when to scale also, because capital, an infusion of capital before you see the results of your scale. So what resources do you have in place, and how long can you go without receiving any additional income in addition to the income you're already receiving? How long can you go without receiving that, right? So that's going to be simple math, because your risk tolerance is going to play a major role in your ability to scale or your willingness to scale. right? So what resources do you have? How long can you go? Can you go 3, 4, 6 months without receiving additional income? Because, again, people have obligations and families and all those other things. So I think risk tolerance is something to consider also.
I gotta say, Otis, bingo. I really think that is a key to knowing when it's time to scale as well. I'm sure other people on stage believe that as well. How much risk can you tolerate? How long can you carry? So, example, and everybody has a story. I had a unit in Clearwater, Florida. It was my last unit trying to expand before COVID hit. So, stood that unit up in November, and COVID hit with that January. So ended up losing that unit, but was able to carry the unit throughout the contract. So did not jump out of the contract because it wasn't anybody's fault. It wasn't my fault. It was a commercial property. It wasn't the organization's fault. So again, able to carry that because I did have the resources. But I think that it was a great lesson as well that you have to have resources if you jump into expanding. You have to assess it from a risk standpoint. And I think that a lot of that has to do with when we talk about cap rate and market assessment as well. So I want to say thank you for that, Otis. I think that was so important. Anybody else want to jump in there and talk about when they like to, or what triggers or formulas they like to look at when they're scaling? So let's talk about what in the environment might you look at if you're looking to scale. So I would say, what do you think about even the legalities? Would you just take Philadelphia right now? And also, I want to say Oahu in Hawaii, if not the whole state of Hawaii, the big upheaval in short-term rental legalities that's going on, that plays a big part in it as well. Wouldn't you say? Anybody on the stage want to talk to that? All right. Well, I guess not. I guess not. I guess I'll speak on it. Go ahead, Marvin.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just quickly, that's important, very important, and making sure, at least I can speak from a short-term rental standpoint, when you're operating or expanding, making sure that it is actually legal, so working with the appropriate attorneys, when they're, writing so say for me, starting a co-hosting company or short-term rental management company, making sure I consult with real estate attorneys in my area that can make sure that my contracts are written with the right language, that that I'm operating correctly and that I'm not violating any ordinances. So yes, that's very important.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you for that confirmation. That you want to take a look at the legal and the law climate around your plan to scale. If right now there's an upheaval with short-term rental legalities going on in Oahu, that may not be the best time to scale, or that may not be the best place to scale. So again, looking at those, and I appreciate you jumping in there, Marvin, just to confirm that. I'm going to go down and do a couple of other mock introductions. I will ask if you have any questions when it comes to short-term rental, go ahead and raise your hand or send your question. If you don't want to be brought up to the stage, we are screening folks. Your profile. So if you don't want to come up to the stage and you just want to ask your question, go ahead and send it to one of the mods. You can send it to me, and we'll make sure it gets asked. And I think RB is back. RB, are you there?
Not really, but I was in between calls. But there are a couple of people that did come to the stage, so I think it would be a good time to be able to allow them to ask their questions. Really quickly, let's do a quick room reset before we get to the questions. This is the Lunch and Learn, the short-term rental edition. Thank you so much, TJ, for holding it down while I'm taking care of some business on the back end. This whole room is dedicated to getting ready to scale. Profit Time, hosted by the Key Real Estate Group, which is that little greenhouse at the top. If you're not a member of it, please feel free to join the club so that way you're able to not only be a participant in this room, but also future rooms to come. In addition to that, if you see the link that is above my head, it is rbtherealtor.com. We are going to have some events coming up both virtually and in person. If you would like to be notified about those events before they take place so you can be first on the list, please feel free to not only click the link, scroll down to the bottom, and join the mailing list so you can know when we're going to be doing the next in-person meetups, as well as virtual events that will be happening. And we also share other events of people that are part of our real estate family via the list of people that we have that are signed up. So don't miss an opportunity to stay in the know. I encourage you to not only follow people on this stage, follow the moderators, right, with the green badges, follow them on the stage on Clubhouse, click the always bell so you know whenever they're speaking in different rooms. But in addition to that, go to Instagram. Instagram has so many different things that you can tap into. Not only do you get to know these speakers a little bit better, but you can click the links in their bio so that way you're able to access the master classes, the coaching, the consultation options, podcasts, and everything in between. I know Rafa's getting ready to have a podcast coming up. I know a couple of other people are doing master classes. I myself have a seminar that's coming up for first-time home buyers if you're looking to get started, as well as how to produce a profitable property. All of that stuff is in the link in our bios, so don't miss that opportunity and that resource. So with that being said, a couple of good things that I think that after the questions are answered, TJ, maybe people can talk about how the development of their network helps them to scale in their short-term rental business, because I know that that's something that people always want to know about. Who needs to be in your network to facilitate that growth? And then also, when you're scaling, do you stay in your market or do you go outside your market? And in addition to that, what are different financing options that you can use when you're ready to scale? Because everybody might not have money in the bank or money in the pocket, but they might want to grow. So what can they do? So those are just a couple of quick things that come to mind. But with that being said, let's get to some questions. The first person up is Paul. Paul, are you with us? Paul Pop.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm here. Took me a second to unmute. Great discussion today, and since we're in the discussion of tricky things and scaling, and so I haven't launched my first unit yet. Hopefully within the next week or so I'll be able to do it. Finally got somebody to insure me for the property in Florida. But yesterday I came across a property, a distressed seller that's over in one of the neighborhoods of Chicago that's a high-end neighborhood. And it's a property that I usually don't look at for Airbnb or short-term rental, but I think that neighborhood would do well. So the question that I have is, what would you guys recommend me to be careful of? So the price point is about 800 to a million. Has 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, a couple of acres of land. So I'm trying to see if I can do a subject to, so buy it subject to, and then do, short-term rental out of it, or do a co-host, if not an arbitrage kind of model. But in this higher end space, what would you guys recommend? And also, I can't remember who mentioned, but the fact that we're going into a slower season, and here in Chicago it's going to be a slow season since it's winter too. How would you, tell me to go about it, or what input do you have? Thank you.
Hey, Paul, Shalady. What have you researched the ordinance of the city, the specific city you're looking to purchase in?
So I have made a list of things. I have a list that in this room and other Airbnb rooms or short-term rentals. So I kind of have a list of things that I have to go through since it came, kind of fell in my lap. Somebody called me 9 o'clock last night. Haven't gotten a chance yet to do all the research, but I'm trying to see if it's recommended or not for somebody in my position to go for something like this, and if it is, what else would I have to look into? So when I start doing the research, I can go full force into it.
Okay. The reason I was asking is you want to know what the city ordinance allows for short-term rental, if they allow it, or how they allow it to be done. Second, I don't know if you mentioned this, but you said the properties in Chicago. Where are you located?
Property is about, I would say, about an hour from downtown Chicago. So it's a suburb of Chicago, and I am about 20 minutes from the property.
Okay, cool. I would, if I were you, I would start with the ordinance to see if it's gonna go. Because historically speaking, Chicago Chicago is probably one of the, maybe on the tougher side for STR. So you may want to know exactly what that city is, since you said about an hour away, and if they allow it there. From there, you proceed. Of course, I believe STR could work anywhere. It's just knowing the rules and playing to win with those rules, if that helps.
And I also wanted to add to what Nader said, Paul, and it was more so. So he covered, understanding the regulation, and we always talk about that's the first thing, especially now. The way we're seeing things unroll or unfold for short-term rentals in this type of climate. I'll tell you, when you talked about seasonality, that's the next thing I always look at, and that's from having a hard lesson of having a beach property and it blowing it out of the water in the summer. I mean, I was just swimming in return in the summer, but didn't really understand that peak season comes to, and again, being a rookie, that peak season comes to an end when you're new. So when your listing is mature, it'll be able to carry itself throughout the year. But if you have a seasonal listing and it's new, you can expect to have to carry that unit for a couple of months, so you have to plan for that. And a good way to plan for that, if you're scaling, is to not scale in the same beach location. So for me, I had to learn to go get a winter-based unit. You spoke about Chicago, so I ended up getting a New Orleans unit after that, which nicely balanced it out because Mardi Gras and all of that happens in the wintertime. So they were able to nicely bounce off of each other until both were mature enough to carry themselves throughout the season, even when it was slow. Because as your listing matures, the more you'll see mature bookers or reservations will show up and book you a couple of months out. So I just wanted to offer that as well. Anybody else want to offer anything to Paul? Or Paul, did you feel like that answered your question?
Yeah. So listening to the numbers, I would say that I just want to make sure I heard it clear. So it's between 800 and $1 million for a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom property in Chicago. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's about 8 to $1 million. I gotta see. The way I would look at it would be more like into the 650 to 700. I would settle if it's okay. If not, I would probably do arbitrage or something to that matter. But I said Chicago because it's everybody knows Chicago. This is a suburb of Chicago. It's actually Barrington, so it's about an hour out of Chicago. But yeah, the Chicago market, and there are a few. I saw 2 of them. There are similar houses that have been on a while on Airbnb, but I haven't really monitored them before. I just saw they have a lot of reviews and they go back about a year, a little over a year, one of them.
Right. Okay. Well, what I would do is, for me, honestly, just listening to that part, it would be a hard no for me. I like to invest in properties. The ones I invest in are 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and usually I purchase them between $90,000 and $120,000. And from the research I've done in looking to diversify the area that I want to invest in, I always come back home because it's expensive out there. And just to put it into perspective, the 79 doors that we're opening up, the whole property on that was $3.8 million. So when you look at like the nightly price, as far as what people are willing to pay for like a vacation experience, I know it can vary a lot, but I would definitely go on airdna.com. type in the address there and fill out the short-term rental calculator to get a ballpark of what they think that property will make. But just based on those numbers and the research that I do when I'm looking for a new property, I would probably look in a different area if you really want to get into this game. That's just me personally. That might not help, but that's my 2 cents on it.
Hey Paul, sorry, I'm like juggling work, this call and then the proper insurance on a different time. So I'm trying to remember what the question was. I think one of the questions was about was the seasonality and how to fill up your calendar. Is that right? Did I hear that right?
Well, so the question is, it's a property on a price point that I'm not very comfortable with. So the questions, one of them would be, how would you approach it, to look at it and do your math for it, and if there are any things, if I was to do it, how to approach it right. So it's about 800 to $1 million value. I'm trying to see if I can get it around 650 if I was to get it on a subject to take over the mortgage or do arbitrage or rental. And it's outside of Chicago, about an hour.
So I want to piggyback real quick off what Storm had said. She makes a great point. I mean, first and foremost, just because you can have a property be a short-term rental doesn't mean it should. And this is an example because, you could take the same amount of capital and divest it into another area, have a more diverse portfolio of more units and the same amount of money. But, if you were to take her recommendation in AirDNA and you type in the address, the property address, bedroom, bathroom, and an occupancy number, how many heads, it's going to spit back 3 numbers. It's going to spit back an average annual revenue, an average daily rate, and then an average annual occupancy. For me, and for everything that we talk to our investors about, I won't touch it unless it's 50% or higher. That tells me there's enough market saturation for me to even step into that market. And I wouldn't even touch it unless that gross number is able to purchase that house within 3 to 5 years. So if that place comes back, if you're going to be spending, let's just even say $800,000, I wouldn't be looking at that and touching that property unless it peaked somewhere around $150,000 to $200,000 in the AirDNA. And then if I did find that, then I would go actually into the market and buy the data from a couple different companies and find other properties that have actually made and achieved that much money as a proof positive. It's the McDonald's Burger King theory. I'm going to go find another McDonald's. I'm going to put myself right in that same area. So that's how I would approach it, because that's a heavy investment regardless, unless that property was beachfront or lakefront or in some phenomenal area. I'd rather go down to Kentucky and put that much money in a house, and I could make, $200,000 in just the Kentucky Derby, But again, just because it can be a short-term rental doesn't mean it should, because you want to run the feasibility model backwards. And what if short-term rentals fail? Do you have an approach, or do you have a marketability for midterm rentals? And then at the end of the day, if everything else goes fail, how much are you going to get for long-term rental? And will you still be covering your note? Will you still be making a marginal return? If not,
I just want to second what Robert was saying and Storm as far as a tool. So you can use AirDNA's Airbnb calculator, but it's going to just limit you to Airbnb's data. And for a unit that size, that may not be the platform that will give you the best data by itself. So I would say, use that as well. But I also would use MashVisor to do just what Robert said, which is it'll tell you what's the viability for that property as far as a long-term rental, and what's the viability for it as far as increasing that the cap rate on there. So I would use MashVisor and also Data Rabu to round out that decision, because AirDNA is going to give you a good start, but it's also going to limit you to what they're collecting as far as Airbnb data.
Hey, can I ask awesome stuff from Robert and TJ? Paul, this is a question for you, just from hearing what Robert and TJ had for you. So with that, how much would the down payment be if you were to get it for $600?
I would only get it subject to no down payment, take over the payments. I wouldn't put any money into it. I wouldn't put my credit into it. I wouldn't do any of that. It would be the subject to, or do like a co-hosting or a similar, maybe I would do arbitrage, but co-hosting, either subject to or co-hosting would be what I would be inclined to do out of it. So I wouldn't subject myself to any kind of harsh downsides on my end if things weren't to work out how I plan.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, it does. It does. And to Robert and TJ's point, you want to, whenever I'm on the purchase side and the arbitrage side, whenever you do that, when I purchase and run the numbers based on long-term rental numbers, and I just let the short-term rental be a bonus to my already good purchase price using the long-term rental calculations. And the reason I asked for the down payment, well, since you're not going to have any, is because if you were to limit your risk, and although I'm not I don't preach co-hosting, that may be the best way to limit your risk and lower your barrier for entry to begin with, and slowly gain control of the property if that's your end goal. Hopefully that helps.
I agree with that 3,000%. I don't think you should ever buy anything that the cash flow doesn't work on a long-term basis. I think all the short-term rental stuff should be considered a bonus.
I agree. I mean, this house is close to me. I really like the neighborhood, so if things wouldn't work out, I'm moving it. I don't really have a problem. The payments are like somewhere around $6,000 a month, so I can cover that if it comes to it. But I'm that's not my goal. My goal would be to make money with it and to kind of understand the luxury market. That's my end goal, to move into that eventually. My other units that I have two right now that I'm working on putting on it, and they're both, I bought one for $30,000 and one for like $22,000. So yeah, that's where I'm comfortable in the lower end, but then of course I have to remodel those, put more money into them. But yeah, that's my game plan right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul, for such a good question and all the mods that poured into that. I just wanted to also ask the mods, and this was brought up by RB, to think about when we're scaling or when people are looking to scale, what do you think about, partnering, or how do you access more capital to do that? Start thinking about that. But it's one thing that I kind of wanted to mention. I think it was mentioned earlier briefly. It might have been by Robert, but I'm not sure. But he mentioned briefly whys. When your why changes, why were you doing it in the first place? And if there's a drastic change to the why, and what made me think of that was I see Mr. Don Daniels on the stage. He just entered the room not too long ago. I'm working on his project, and he had a wonderful why. And I hope you don't mind me, kind of embarrassing you, Don and Don, but his why was to take care of his wife. He has a beautiful unit out there in Michigan. It looks like it's going to be producing, as far as the tools, all of them say, well into six figures. And his why of converting that from a long-term rental to a short-term rental, which is still a way to scale, was just that he wanted to make sure his family is taken care of. Don, could you go ahead and just introduce yourself as well, and talk a little bit about yourself there? I don't know if he's still there, but we'll get back to Don later. But what about when your whys change? Does anyone on the panel or the mods here want to talk from that aspect?
So I just want to make sure I understand the question. So why would we want to scale up? Is that the question? I mean, besides the effect of making more money?
Well, yeah, when you're doing short-term rental and you started it for a reason, whether it be to release your W-2 job, whether it be that you wanted to, like I said, wants to provide for his family, when that is that there's a shift there, meaning there's maybe a more immediate need there, and your why has changed on why you started in the first place, is that a trigger? Would you say that's a trigger to also consider if you're trying to scale?
For me personally, that would be a no, but it's probably not the most common answer. But for me, it's a no because the reason that I started short-term renting using, Airbnb to make money from my house was because I was traveling full time. So it was pretty much, gonna sit empty. And it pays me I literally live out of the van that you guys see my picture right there. I'm sitting in the van right there. I live out of that thing. It allows me to go anywhere in this country and see all kinds of beauty while using the house to make money to support the whole lifestyle. So for me, scaling actually prevents me from having the freedom to travel as much because it's more work and more time and more responsibility. But definitely I'm scaling anyway, right? So we're about to open up more. It's actually a result of these lunch and learns. When I realized it could happen to me too. It's kind of like the lottery ticket for me. So I never thought it was possible to be even considering something on the $1 million level. And now it is. The thing that motivates me to get into it and take on that extra responsibility and headaches is that my profits go to building actually learning centers in Nepal and feeding families in Indonesia that I met while I've traveled and kind of giving back to the planet. So that's my motivator more than the money. But yeah, I mean, I used to go home for the winter and I was losing money by being in my own house versus still traveling. So that's why I'll be in Europe for winter. But so that for me, I think is a no, maybe on the fence.
Absolutely, I can agree with that. That there are more hard requirements other than a shifting of your why. So I can understand that, Storm. Does anybody want to talk about what your network should look like? What your network and resources should look like if you're deciding to scale? What should you have within your network, or what should you look to build in your network in order when you're thinking about scaling? Anybody want to if you're deciding to address that? What should you have within your network, or what should you look to build in your network in order to
everybody else there?
if you're deciding to address that? What should you have within your network, or what should you look to build in your network in order to make it more efficient? If you're deciding to address that, what should you have within your network, or what should you look to build in your network in order to make it more efficient?
The inventory and making sure that they let me know if there are things missing, which happens, so that the next guest has the best experience. It's really not about whether I'm gaining or losing things out of the units, but it's more about making sure that every guest that shows up doesn't know that there might have been an issue with the last one. So the people is number one. Two, I think it's quality of products. So I know it sounds silly, but the quality of the toilet paper that you leave in your unit absolutely plays into how they feel about their experience there. And I think some of it is the heart. For me, I take a lot of pride in my units. I put a lot of my travel photography and artwork in there for the decor. And my goal is to inspire others to travel more because I feel like that's a better quality of life. So for me, the actual, I don't want to just put a picture on the wall, a couch, a TV, a table, and call it a day. Like, I want them to go there and feel like they experience being home. Our communication is very personal. I want them to feel completely relaxed, and if there happens to be an issue along the way, don't worry about it. We will work through it together versus the rules and the mandates and, the really feeling like I'm micromanaging them on their vacation or their work stay. So that would be my top 3 important factors.
Thank you so much for sharing those, Storm. I like how you talk about just the synergy of what you already have, the systems you already have, the networks you already have, and what you already have in place is what you take in consideration. So really appreciate that. I'm going to do a quick reset of the room with about a half an hour left and get to some of the mods that we did not get their introductions. In the meanwhile, if you have a question, anything that has to do with short-term rental. It doesn't necessarily have to do with scaling. If you have a question, maybe you're new to the short-term rental space and you just want to ask your question, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll pull you up to the stage, or you can just back channel me and we'll get your question out to the panel members to go ahead and answer. So thank you to everyone for joining us in today's Lunch and Learn Short-Term Rental Edition, founded by RB the Realtor and the Key Real Estate Group. My name is Tamara Jones, or you can call me TJ for short. I will be Assistant RB and the others on stage mod today's room. If you'd like to follow the topic of short-term rentals or any other facet in the real estate arena, please click on that greenhouse at the top of your screens to follow the Key Real Estate Club. That will ensure you do not miss any upcoming rooms like this. This room happens every Thursday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please remember to click on the faces of the moderators and connect with them outside of this platform. Those are the folks on the stage with those green badges. So we're discussing today, when are you ready to scale? How do you know, right? And we've already talked about, whether you need to look at how your portfolio is performing right now. You need to look at seasonality. You need to look at maybe not scaling additional doors, but scaling in other ways, maybe adding staff or services. You need to look at maybe your whys. So we're talking about that, and Maz, I still want to get you to jump in there, but let's do a couple more introductions that we didn't get to do in the beginning of the room. And again, if you're in the listening lounge, you can come right on up and we'll let you ask your question, okay? So back to the introductions, and then we'll get some questions in there because I see them starting to come in on that back channel. Mr. Don Daniels, I'm so glad. I was speaking about you, and I think you were away from your phone. Are you there, Mr. Don Daniels?
Yes, I am. I am here. So what would you like from me right now?
We just want you to give an introduction, and I did talk about your wonderful why, on why you were actually turning around one of your really great, you have an LTR that's doing just fine, why you were turning that into a short-term rental. And it didn't have so much to do with, being competitive. It had to do with making sure your family was taken care of. I just thought that was a noble why and just speaks so much of your character. But just introduce yourself, Mr. Daniels.
All right. Well, my name is Don Daniel. I'm an interest cancellation expert, or ICE for short, and you can find out everything you need to know about me on my digital business card, ICE10K.com. That's ICE10K.com. And we have a book, which is The Pill Method, A Better Way to Eliminate Debt. And it has been #1 on Amazon just recently, and we're very proud of that fact. We run a room 4 days a week under the Pill Method Club, and please stop by there and learn some stuff. But in terms of the short-term rental thing, I was thinking about having a team of one. And because I learned some stuff on Clubhouse, and I was going to go out there and say, okay, I learned some stuff on Clubhouse. Let me do this, let me do that, and get this thing off the ground. And, I was going to save some money by doing this all myself. And I'm just kind of wondering, TJ, if I had approached it like that, how many mistakes would I have made? How much would it have actually cost me in trial and error? or I can just contact TJ, who's made all the mistakes already, a new website for your business, and give me the benefit of her knowledge. And she says, "Here, Don, pay this instead, and save yourself some heartache and some money. Let me get this thing up and running for you, in like nobody's business in a shorter period of time because you have a plan." Oh my God. So, yes, I have a team. Her name is TJ.
Thank you so much for being here, John. And again, just somebody who's talking about their experience or their journey. This is somebody who's not new to the real estate game, but again, ready to scale and expand into short-term rentals. So glad to have you here. And it's a couple other trips. And I see TJ Tajani down there. I'm so glad you're able to join us, and the knowledge that you have, TJ, I would love to hear what you have to say when it comes to, when it's time to scale? What are some of the triggers you look at after you go ahead and introduce yourself? And then we have a couple of other questions we're going to have answered. Go ahead, TJ.
Awesome. Hey, can y'all hear me okay? I'm in my car. I don't know if y'all can hear me on the Bluetooth.
We can hear you just fine.
Fantastic. What's going on, everybody? TJ to Johnny. I'm here in Houston, Texas. Been doing real estate since 2014. Got into the short-term rental game towards the tail end of 2017. Started with one. When we scaled up, my main strategy to get into this business model is owning my short-term rentals, which I love using other people's money to acquire my real estate. Also, with the known strategy called rental arbitrage, we're taking down these leases the right way under our business entity, and we're re-renting them out. I think it's a great topic, by the way, talking about scaling, because, scaling is the name of the game, because this business actually gets easier the more units you have. So I think scaling is actually an important component. Now, when it comes to scaling, though, I think it's very important for folks to understand that you want to scale when you're supposed to, when the time is right to scale. What do I mean by that? I mean, when your systems are down pat, because that's where your value is anyway. Value isn't in Airbnb. I keep repeating this, and I'm going to keep repeating it until it's kind of drilled in, because a lot of people, anybody can put the property up on Airbnb, but the value is not in the platform that you're on. The value is actually in your business model, your infrastructure. So you want to make sure that your systems are down packed, even with one unit. Like, make sure you have a well-oiled machine with one unit, and then scale. And that's scaling in both ways, whether you're scaling in the number of units that you have, or you're scaling into other platforms outside of Airbnb. And I say that because I recommend starting with Airbnb. They're still the most turnkey platform out there. And start there. Make sure your systems are down packed with Airbnb. Then you're ready to scale both from a lateral perspective in terms of getting more viewership, more eyes on your listing, to get on more OTAs, and scaling in terms of number of units that you add into your portfolio. So definitely wanted to make sure we mentioned that in terms of scale. So I appreciate the opportunity to introduce you.
TJ, thank you so much for that. It's my long lost brother there. I'm telling you, it's two things that you said, TJ, that I just want to reiterate, because I just think they're that important. So, your systems, whether it be one or whether it be many, not only should those systems be in place, you're getting ready to test those when you scale. So I just think that was just, amazing.